girls are your builders? I'm like, yeah, Lisa's like nearly qualified. She's perfectly capable of doing a bathroom. If she's got any issues, she'll call me. Don't stress about it. I live down the road. I'll be up here if you need me to. Just trying to reassure this guy. It surprises everyone that there's these female builders in the company. And as soon as they have them on site, they're just like, don't let them leave. Just keep them here, keep them here.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch up with people about it.
Hey guys, Better Builder Apprentice is brought to you by our friends at Builders Academy. Builders Academy is New Zealand's newest apprentice provider, and they definitely here to shake things up. Why use Builders Academy? Well, first of all, they're just as good as the other guys, but on top of that, they will come on site every 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, that's quite a lot, right? That means that your apprentices will be a lot more engaged, and they'll have to learn a lot less modules in between trainer visits. Secondly, they are backed by master builders. And thirdly, they have an experienced and motivated team that knows the industry inside and out. In fact, most of them are ex-chippies. Just go to buildersacademy.co.nz. Tony, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
Give me a bit of an idea of how you sort of got into the game of building.
I really just moved to Auckland after leaving school. Started working for a labour company. Then started working for the builder here and there. Probably went through about 4 builders myself before I started an apprenticeship. Got through an apprenticeship. And then sort of started my own business while still working for that company, and sort of started scheduling in lots of weekend work, cashies for people, that kind of thing, just little jobs. Got out and started some of my own work in about 2010 or 2012 maybe, something like that. And yeah, as soon as I took on a proper full-time job, the jobs just kept coming in after that, and just rolled from friend to friend of a friend of a friend of that person to a friend of a friend, or it just kept going, job
All
after
referrals.
job.
Yeah.
And at the time it was just me and 2 other people, two guys that I was training. And yeah, we just trucked along like that for a good 5 or 7 years, I think.
And cool. So even to take one step back, so when you did where did you grow up? You grew up?
That's a long story.
All right.
But I did my college years in Te Araha in the Waikato, and then
Cool.
I left school and moved up here.
Okay, cool. So you're a Waikato boy. Okay. And then when you came up and you decided to get into building, talk to me a little bit about what was that first experience like, walking onto the site?
I was very familiar with building. My
Yeah.
dad was a builder for 15, 20 years of his career.
So you were always around building
And my
sites.
dad was always renovating our houses that we lived in,
Right.
if we owned it. So I was very familiar with building. Nothing about building surprised me or bothered me or scared me or nothing.
Right. So you weren't intimidated at all when you walked on your first day as an apprentice? You were just pretty confident? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to get qualified? How long did that take?
So I was probably building about 4 years. But it was for like 4 or 5 different builders, and none of them except my last builder, who's still quite a large, quite successful company in Auckland. None of the ones before that offered me the time and effort for an apprenticeship, and then they did, and I took it and smashed it out. My official story is I did it in 2 years.
Yeah.
But I wasn't allowed to finish it because it would have meant that we've been audited because I did it too quickly.
Right.
So I had to wait till the 3 years ticked over.
Right.
It's a simple story. But
So they will audit. So they will essentially would have looked and said, "Oh, this is too quick," and then they would go audit the whole business and the whole system.
And my training advisor didn't want to get audited. So
Yeah.
I just thought, well, we'll just wait for 3 years, not the end of the world. But like I'd done 4 years worth of work.
Yeah.
Just only 2 years was official with the training program.
Yeah. And then also like your background with your dad and growing up.
Exactly. So like
Yeah.
it just was very easy.
Yeah.
very clicked, and it's always been easy. Like no matter the complicated situation I'm in, like I always just see a solution. And
So that's like your kind of like thing that you're good at, is that you could like building itself, problem solving,
Yeah.
figuring it out. That's like where
Yeah.
you kind of hit your.
That's kind of why I got into renovations. I think 15 years ago was like an unhealthy obsession with fixing shit.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you're probably more.
So I've done like 4 or 5 of my own houses while living in them, while having a family, and it was probably not the best idea. But
Do you marry? You got kids?
yeah,
How many kids you got?
4.
Sucker for punishment. Yeah, I got 4 as well.
Yeah,
What are the ages?
13, 11, 10, and 3, or 4 now. Sorry,
Oh, cool.
4
Awesome.
as of
You got a
yesterday.
late one at the end there.
Mm.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So with all that chaos, you've been doing renovations at the same time while living there. How's the wife? You obviously married like a legend to be able to deal with all that.
She is, absolutely. Yeah.
And so, okay, so
She loves it as well. She's
Yeah.
very creative. She's done all the interior design work on all of our houses. She's great. But regardless, it is a lot going on all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was having a chat with my wife this morning actually, and we were just like running the numbers on nappy changes, and because we got 4, they were like kind of 6 and under, and we worked it out, and we're like, conservatively, we've changed about 16,000 nappies over the last 6 years. It's a lot, eh? So you know all about that. Okay, so you love that. The renovation side comes naturally to you because you love the problem solving and fixing things up and connecting the old with the new and all that, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a lot more complicated than
It's
new
more
build.
interesting to me
Yeah.
if like I can build a house on a piece of land from scratch, sure, but I could probably go to sleep at the same time. It's so straightforward. It's so simple. There's no problems other than like get out of the ground. Like
Yeah.
get your geotech and your foundations sorted, and you're not going to have any dramas after that, other than clients changing their mind. But that's normal. It's
Yeah.
fine. But yeah, with renovations, it's like you get there in the morning and you're like, oh, I can't do what I plan to do today. I've got to figure out what I can do today to keep things moving and keep the job going until we find a solution for that. And it's constant day-to-day changes. And I think lots of people find it a headache and they get stressed out and they get worked up. But maybe I did at the beginning as well. And now it's just like, that's a renovation. Deal with it.
Yeah. There's just like different things we're all good at, right? And I
Mm.
guess everyone has to figure out what's that thing that and I think that's probably what you're obviously like very practically minded,
Mm.
kind of an engineering type of mindset,
Yeah.
being able to kind of figure out how things come together and pull apart. And
Well,
that sort of
my
person.
dad was a physics teacher at school, so lots of that stuff was automatically kind of explained and taught in the home.
Yeah.
Whenever there was what does that work? And you get the fucking massive breakdown.
Yeah. Here we go. There
Yeah.
goes. There's 20 minutes. I'll never get back.
Oh crap! I shouldn't have asked that question. So I guess yes, you're right. Like lots of that stuff
Yeah.
just all kind of makes sense and understanding. But
And I guess there's so many elements to building that, or like running a building business, that everyone has to kind of figure out what they're good at and not compare, right? Because another person may be very good with like operations and they just want to like project manage and make sure everything runs efficient, and they don't necessarily that excited or good at like
problem solving.
problem solving or the details.
Yeah,
or
yeah, the
maybe they have
detail.
like a site foreman that's better at that, or
Yeah.
I guess everyone's got to find their little aspect that they're good at and try to do that as much as possible, and then get everyone else to do a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah. And then once you get all that like down pat, it's probably even the hardest thing about expanding the business, to be honest.
Yeah.
But once you get all that stuff down pat, it's about making those people work in synergy together. So like everything can be processed and smooth and clear for the clients and all that kind of thing.
So have you found that transition from, because it sounds like you're very much like in a general business, you'd be the product guy, right? You'd be the guy that's like really obsesses about the details of the build. But then you got the operations, then you got the entrepreneurial side, someone's got to push the business forward. How have you sort of found that transition, and what have you learned over the last 10 years around transitioning from just being the obsess about the problem solving versus the business aspect?
I probably struggle the most with the business aspect and the development and the pushing side of things. The first, say, 10 years of having the business was not really like even advertising or trying to do anything. It was just a constant stream of work. And I always just seemed to manage to get one or two of the jobs and just flow on to the next one. So since we've started trying to grow and develop, it's actually been like a whole different thing, and I don't think it comes naturally to me. I'm more of a customer's always right, do a really good job, and they'll talk about it to everyone else. You know what I mean? Like that's where it started. That's kind of what I've grown to expect. So pushing the business in the direction we are, I'm still finding it pretty difficult to get more like into the business management and the numbers and you know what people probably refer to as KPIs, like that kind of thing. I'm just like, just look after the customer and it'll be fine. But it's definitely something we have to probably do our best to try and get on top of if we're going to keep developing the way we are and growing.
It's almost painful to do because it's not in your strength zone. It like almost hurts you.
It's definitely not
your body.
Definitely not in my strength zone.
Yeah.
And you know, some weeks go by and I just go, oh crap, I learned a lot this week. Oh, take that on board. And I'd just say probably one of the most important things is just finding the right people. Like, it's so hard to find good people that are interested in supporting and working for a business, and almost just getting like emotionally involved. Like, I do care about this business and where are we going, and let's all go there together. Because like we said before, like if we're trying to get everyone to work in synergy, they all have to care.
Yep.
They can't just go, oh, that's my job done. I'm back tomorrow. Like you do have to care.
Yeah.
Or else it just never pans out in the end if you're not there because you care about where the business is going. Like, okay, you don't care, so find a new job then. Why are you here?
Yeah. No, that's good. It's almost like that give a shit factor is like one of the things that the boxes that needs to be ticked out when you hire. Now, and when you hire, let's talk about like apprentices to start with, and then we kind of go from there. How do you know, when you're looking at apprentices coming through, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the other staff. Well, firstly, before I ask that, what's your structure at the moment? How many guys have you got working for you? Who's on the tools? Are you on the tools?
No, I'm not. I haven't been on the tools for a while, but I do jump in and help out when I need to. I finished a job in January for about 6 weeks on site, which was interesting, being on the phone and on site. But just because other people had let us down last year. And I said to the client, look, I can understand how you're feeling. Why don't I just get on site myself and just get it done? And yeah, now it's all behind us and everyone's happy.
Cool. And how many guys have you got at the moment?
So we are a bit quiet. So we've got 5 or 6, I think, at the moment on sites. And say a week or two ago, we sort of put the notice out to guys that, you know, if we are getting a bit quiet, if you can find some other work, I'd suggest you do that. And I think we had 2 or 3 guys find some other work for at least a month, I think they said.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that, you know, in a few weeks' time, we've got some more work locked in.
And
get them all back because they're really good. Like the guys we've got at the moment, really committed.
Yeah, it's easy sometimes to just like let guys go away, but what a lot of businesses find. I was watching this interview the other day with like the CEO of Air New Zealand, and they asked him, you know, during COVID, what is something that he'd do differently? And he said that, you know, even though he had to, like, at the time, it was really important for balance the books and everything to kind of let people go and get the overheads under control. But if he had to do it again, he would try to find a way to hold on to staff, because he said trying to get those guys back has been near impossible. And so it's very important to try not me saying this, but him, to try and hold on to the staff if you can. And even like if it's transition and maybe they do a bit, but there's like a plan for them to come back or whatever, because if you have good people, it's very hard to find good people, right? Once you let them go. But it's tough out there at the moment, like especially in New Zealand. I mean, obviously we have Australian listeners, and some states in Australia are still going well. WA, Queensland, still like doing really well. Some of the regional areas. But Auckland, Melbourne, all that, it's like pretty tough at the moment.
Definitely feeling it.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of like hanging in there for a lot of guys. So fully get that. So when you let's talk about when things turn again, and maybe even look at the past as well. What sort of attributes? One obviously being giving a shit. What other attributes do you look for when you're looking to hire like an apprentice or someone that comes and they have like no skill? So what are the other attributes that you look at?
Well, one of the hardest things to find at the moment is someone that actually even wants to work. You know, like we've had so many people that you get like 2 or 3 days in and just like, nah, just go away. Don't even bother. Like you're not even here to work. Like,
Yeah.
you know, checking their phone every 20 minutes or going to bathroom breaks like every hour. And where are they gone? Oh, they've been on a bathroom break. And we find out, they've been on a bathroom break for like 20 minutes because they're hiding around the corner. Like, it's so difficult. You find 1 in every 10, if you're lucky, that's like actually someone that's got a bit of work ethic and is willing to put in like, you know, a decent 7 to 8 hour day of actually moving around and thinking and using their brain. So when you find someone like that at the moment, it's like a bit like finding gold, and you try and look after them and the best you can, and offer them an apprenticeship to get them interested and get them feeling like they're on a career path and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you had any adult apprentices, or they mostly been young guys over the last few years?
So my first 2 apprentices actually were, one of them was actually older than me, and the other one was about 4 years younger than me. Still works for me 13 years later. But they were both what you'd call adult apprentices. They'd done a few years before starting, or were partway through their apprenticeship. And I just helped them sort of finish it off and give them a bit of guidance and a bit of a kick up the arse. And
Yeah. And like, how do you what's the difference between hiring an adult apprentice versus like a 20-year-old?
an adult apprentice has already got the work ethic. It's hugely noticeably different. Like, it's already there. They've done enough time to know like safety. They've done enough time to know that like there's a 8 or 9 hour day that you need to be working, or else someone's going to get on your case about it. Yeah, it's a massive difference. The fresh guys that haven't had any time or training, whatever, they just walk around like stunned mullets until they've had a good few months on the job, and they get the way that a site is going to roll day to day.
Yeah.
You know?
So you find a lot of guys when they come on. I guess there's a lot of, I mean, we've talked about this a lot in the past on this podcast, but there's a lot of shiny objects, right? Because people are like, they're like, mate, I could just be buying and selling crypto and making 200K a year. Why am I here?
I like that
Why am I
analogy.
digging a hole? You know what I mean?
That's so true. I get that from my own son. He's 13. And it's like, what are you
Dad.
doing? He's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's not a real job. And then I'm like, actually, it probably is a real job now. I should probably be more careful with saying that.
Yeah. Like,
I remember the big thing when I was young was everyone was like, being a DJ is not a real job.
Yeah.
You know, everyone constantly said that. Being a DJ is not a real job. And you're like, oh, hold on. Most big-time DJs these days make like over $50 million a year, but you want to call that not a real job? Like, why were people walking around 20 years ago going, DJing's not a real job? So we probably shouldn't be jumping down kids' throats about crypto's not a real job.
Yeah. I know, right?
It
There's a
might
lot
be.
of crypto millionaires that are like 19 walking around driving Lambos. So it is hard. I've the other day, because you're 39, right?
Mm.
I'm 39 as well. What? almost 39 this year. I'm 38. I almost forget how old I am. But
I'm 40 in 2 months.
oh wow, okay, so you're 1 year older than me. But yes, you're old, mate. I listened to an interview the other day, and they're interviewing like a Zoomer, because you got like the Zoomer. What age is a Zoomer? Dan, are you a Zoomer? 20-year-olds? Dan's a Zoomer.
Is that like one of the generational names?
Yeah, so you got the boom. So we're like millennials, but I think millennials is like a big.
I think we're elder millennials.
Yeah, millennials is like the biggest group, I think, but we're like at the older end. You can also get the younger end.
Yeah.
And then obviously you get the boomers, and the Gen X is like a little bit above us. And then under us, you get like the Zoomers, right? Gen Z. And then is that the Zoomers? It's Gen Z Zoomers,
Maybe.
right?
It's a Z, right? Yeah. Close.
Yeah, but I think the nickname is Zoomers, And then Gen Alpha. How old is Gen Alpha?
That's from, I think, 2000.
2006 and below. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, 2006.
I could see my son being Gen Alpha.
Yeah. So they're like 10, 12-year-olds, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 9-year-olds? Okay. But then I'd listened to this interview of this guy who was a Gen Z, right, a Zoomer. And they were interviewing him. And he was sort of just sitting there, and they were like, oh, talk to me a bit about like, how do you see like millennials and stuff? And he was like, that is like really dumb, eh? Like that is dumb. And it's like, oh yeah. And it's like, yeah, they don't get it, technology, and they don't get it. And like, do you think they're pretty, he's like, they're not very funny. They're pretty dumb. They don't get it. They don't understand. And there's like all the ways, how we talk about boomers, us like, we're the new boomers, the Gen Z talks about us like that now.
Mm.
And it's also easy for us to then act like a boomer and be like, oh, this young generation don't know a hard day's work, right? So how do we're going to have to adapt. Otherwise, we're going to there's going to be a disconnect between us and them.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the boomer that's like has no clue what's going on.
There's no point in taking the approach, what I personally would call the approach of the 6 o'clock news, which is just make everyone hate on each other.
Yeah.
I don't see any point in that. If the millennials are the way they are, they're probably that way because they were made that way due to the generation above.
Yeah.
I think that was what cracked me up the most about boomers and the news going on about millennials being X, Y, Z. I'm like, well, you're our bloody parents. You made us that way. What are you complaining about?
Yeah. And that's the same probably with the Alpha.
You literally created the world for the millennials to grow into, and then you're complaining about the way they grew up. Like, I don't get that. So there's no point complaining about each other. Let's just find a way to deal with the different personalities we've developed.
Yeah. I must say that one of my favorite pastimes is like talking about the boomers and how ridiculous they are, It's really fun because they have
it's so much fun. But
there's a lot
also, I think because we all love whinging about our parents.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So the guys coming through that are like now the apprentices, they are Gen Z. Dan, our producer here, is 21. He's Gen Z. He's a bit different. He's got good work ethic. But a lot of guys that age kind of don't. But then, do they not have a good work ethic? Are they lazy, or are they just? Do they just have different sort of skill sets that we're not tapping into?
Maybe. I think the biggest issues with some of those little pockets within those generations is a lack of passion. Lack of passion for something. Doesn't always have to be work, but lots of us turn our passion into work because we're working class, let's call it. So I think a lot of it drives from lack of passion and not finding time maybe, or having enough direction to find a purpose for that passion. But I know I left school with a very different purpose and passion, and 4 years later I was loving building, 100% into it. This is going to create a great lifestyle for me. I love being out in the open, not stuck in an office. Took lots of boxes, and I just found a real passion for what we talked about earlier, fixing shit. I didn't leave school with that passion. So I think a lot of that stuff comes down to developing passion and purpose.
Do you think I think it's almost like, are there too many options? And then, because a lot of people also have the philosophy on you should do something that you relatively are good at and kind of enjoy. And then as you get better and better at it, you'll develop a passion for it.
Yep.
So that's one way of thinking. But even with that thread, if there's so many options, I think people on their phone all the time, they get they pick a direction, and it's so easy to get shiny object syndrome and just go and just constantly thinking, yeah, but what if I did that? What if I did that?
Yeah.
Or like, look at these guys, because everyone's on Instagram and TikTok.
So I definitely feel like that could be part of the problem with that generation or younger generation struggling to find a passion and purpose, is where it is now is not like at your school career. It's not at your school career day or anything like that anymore. Now it's just constantly coming at you on social media. And then you've always got the what ifs, what if I became a millionaire? What if I did that? What, like these things seem simple on social media, but at the end of the day, most of those people, I don't know any of them, but I can almost guarantee most of those people put in a lot of hard work at some point or are still doing so to get to that point. But we just don't see any of that. The advertising on social media is that it's all easy and that it's simple and that it landed in my lap.
Yeah.
So
that's why everything's like the 5 easy steps to the whatever, right? So yeah, maybe that is, because I don't think anyone is like intrinsically lazy. I think that, some people maybe, but I think a lot of people just aren't like inspired. And so if you're not inspired, you're not gonna, it's kind of like you can maybe go sit in front of your computer and you have to do a whole bunch of like accounts and you could procrastinate, and someone could be like, hey, Tony, you're lazy, mate. But it's like, am I lazy or am I just really uninspired to kind of get these accounts done? You know what I mean? Rather go solve a problem on site, So everyone has like different strengths, and sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do. But I wonder if a little bit of that comes into play as well, where people aren't inspired. Young guys come on site, they might want to do building, but
I agree. Inspiration or being inspired is another great word to use for like lacking passion and purpose. I think they're all similar things. They're all definitely things we need a bit more of these days.
Yeah. Because I know with my dad, he's a boomer and he's like a doer. So he's probably more your personality. Like you probably get up on a Saturday and get a lot of stuff done, right? My dad's kind of like that, like task orientated. I'm more, I'm not like that. My brain works overtime and I spend a lot of time thinking about ideas and how to pull things together, but a lot of it's like thinking time. It's not really like do. And my dad used to call me lazy my whole life, but only later on in life I realized like, I'm just different to him, because I'm not out there like, okay, let's quickly sweep and then we could do this and then do like 10 tasks before 10 on a Saturday.
Yeah. You're not physical task orientated.
No, I'm not like that.
You're in your head orientated.
Yes.
Fixing, designing, understanding, collaborating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would stand in the shower for like 20 minutes and solve like really complicated business problems for my business, jump out of the shower and like, okay, now I get it. Let's go in this direction or whatever. But it's not, you know what I mean? My dad would be in and out of the shower and probably clean the shower while he's in it. You know what I mean? So I guess people have different personalities, and once you realize which personality you kind of fall under, you'll kind of judge yourself less, and you'll be you'll kind of, I guess you'll get to a point where you can focus more on what you're good at and then charge in that direction and try to fill the gaps around you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's probably what Gen Z is better at than us, is that they probably weirdly more self-aware almost. And some of them, I think, what do you think, Dan? Are you guys more self-aware? Yeah, they're more self-aware. They're a little bit smarter. Dan was going to a concert last night. He was like, "Oh, I forgot my earbuds." He's like, they go to a concert. All these Zoomers are standing around with little earbuds in, so they don't hurt their ears. Like, what?
I know, right?
Only a loser would do that when I was young. You know what I mean?
I think that's some of the stuff people don't really like to talk about with things like social media or technology, where there have actually been some really clever little developments or happenings about creating self-awareness or self-care. I'd even jump into the realm of like, you can get mental health services online through your app and your phone. Like, we didn't have that. No one wanted to be seen walking in and out of the guidance counselor's room. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense that generation could be a lot more self-aware or interested in taking care of themselves on different levels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. The world is changing. You've got a female apprentice.
Yes. And a female builder.
And a female builder. I didn't know that. Okay, cool. What are the ways that they're able to add value to the business? Maybe different to male apprentices, because let's be honest, male and female are different. I don't think we need to pretend that everyone's the same. We're not all the same. I think women bring a lot different category of strengths to any role, and guys bring a lot of different strengths. And sometimes it crosses over. But what sort of skill sets do your female builder and apprentices bring to site, and what's been your overall experience?
I think overall experience probably hasn't been like massive big red flags about what different things they do, although I would say probably the female builders are better or more willing to communicate more. I think for most of our clients and for us, let's call it in management between me and my project manager, we just constantly get blown away that they can just do anything the guys can do. And, there's a mentality like, oh, they'll be different. We even had an old guy, he's a great client. I won't mention names, but he's a great client. And this is when, so Lisa, my builder, is my little sister.
Cool.
And she got qualified maybe a year and a half ago. And before she was qualified, I said to this guy, I'm just getting Lisa to come out here and do this job because it's just a small one. Like, it's just a straightforward little bathroom. Like, it's nothing major. And I'll get Caitlin to come as well because they were both available and they both really like working together. So it was 2 girls, no guys. And he just looked at me like, what? I'm like, yeah. He's like, girls, are your builders? I'm like, yeah. Lisa's like nearly qualified. She's perfectly capable of doing a bathroom. If she's got any issues, she'll call me. Don't stress about it. I live down the road. I'll be up here if you need me to. Just trying to reassure this guy, eh? And then at the end of the week, they'd done all the demo. They were waiting for the plumber to get his thing done. And we always do like a full proper walkthrough with the plumber, us, the client, and the plumber. We don't just leave the plumber to do anything and whatever. And then he calls me up at the end of the week on the Friday and goes, okay, they're all done for the week. Are they coming back Monday? I'm like, yeah, they're coming back Monday. He's like, okay, cool. Is it Lisa coming back Monday? Yeah, it's Lisa coming back. Oh, good. I really want to see my Amazonian princess again. And he was just like, every time we went back to do little bits in the kitchen and little bits in the garage and all this other stuff. And every time we went back, he's like, is Lisa coming back?
Lisa's a weapon.
Yeah. It surprises everyone that there's these female builders in the company. And as soon as they have them on site, they're just like, oh, you don't let them leave. Just keep them here.
That's awesome, eh? I mean, I think it's, once again, like I said, like, females are also different. Like, they bring like a different energy. They bring like a different vibe to the environment that they're in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Different, even if you have like an office is full of dudes and then you bring like a couple of females in, it changes like the whole dynamic of the office, and you can argue which way it goes, but a lot, more often than not, it's like changes it in a good way because it just like softens things out a little bit. Less ego, I'd imagine, with the female builders, right? So they're probably going to like hurt themselves less. They're probably going to like work better together.
Not the case of my sister. She's accident prone. But...
Oh, she... Well, there you go. Maybe I have like my preconceived ideas. I do sound like a boomer on this podcast quite regularly. But no, that's cool. Okay, so and then you've got Caitlin, that's your apprentice. How's she going with her apprenticeship? Is everything going good?
Yep, I think she's done the whole thing with us, except for doing like a year stint somewhere else, and then she came back. So she started with us. I don't even know how long ago now. It must be about 4 years, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And then she came back about a year ago, and I'd say she's like 95% done. You just need to do a couple of building set outs and stuff. Yeah. And then, she would tick everything off. And it's a pretty typical time frame, 4 or 5 years to do that. But we've just always been super happy with her work ethic, and like things like she's never late to site. She's always giving it 100%, like 8 hours of the day. Doesn't really complain about anything. Just, some days are shit work, some days are good work. It is what it is. Get it done and move on.
Do you find that they, like in a lot of industries, do you find that they almost have to like overcompensate in terms of like their work ethic and good attitude? Like they know they're the only female on site, or
that could be it.
they have to work a bit harder.
I can't speak for them, obviously, but they could be trying extra hard because they're in a male predominant industry.
Yeah.
I would say as their managers or overseers, whatever you want to call it, I would say there have been times where we go, okay, it feels like they're trying extra hard to prove themselves.
Yeah.
Definitely. But we haven't had any situations where we've gone, can't get the girls to do it. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be able to do it, or they can't prove that. We've always been like, yeah, sweet, they're going to be fine with it. They'll figure it out and they'll get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Because it's funny because on the flip side, I just thinking now, I had a friend who worked as a teacher. Teachers, it's predominantly female, teachers, the industry. And he had to kind of like work like quite extra hard, like kind of because he was like the only male around, kind of show that he could, keep up, which is like just a different industry. Okay, so in terms of like training the Caitlin, Lisa, and like other apprentices that's come through, obviously you guys use Builders Academy. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys have found that. Obviously, there's some other providers out there as well. I assume you've used the old providers in the past, obviously, because you've been around like
that's who I trained with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And versus Builders Academy, sort of what are the differences? Is it all kind of the same, really? Is it just a different option, or what are the differences you've seen, if any?
The report back from the apprentices is that there's way better support with Builders Academy. The system I used kind of turned into like a multiple choice tick box program, and I didn't like that when I saw the apprentices doing it. I was just like, when I did it, we were writing paragraphs. What did we do that day? Oh, we did 16 holes at 1,200 deep. That was 600 round, and we put 4 D12 cages, down the holes to the depth. Like, we wrote out what we did for the day, and it really put it in your head. And the assessors could really see that you understood that the spacing, the dimension, the size, the width, the blah, 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 and what you were using, different types of concrete, different types of timber, like all the little specifics, we're getting into that wording, and they could see that you could understand what you were doing and you noticed the differences in what you were doing. If you're just going through a box going, yeah, I did 600 centers and I used this type of timber, like all the prompting doesn't help you learn. Yeah. All of it being laid out doesn't help you learn. And then, of course, we are on site working, and project manager's doing his job. I'm trying to run the business. We don't necessarily always have all the right time to give the apprentices. So the fact that they have way better support from the Builders Academy can you come out today? I'm struggling with this, or can we make a meeting, rather than going, we're not going to see you for 3 months. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So they actually do that sometimes. Like they'll call
we've had it happen to our apprentices. They're going, oh, I've done 2 more units. I've signed off 2 more units and I'm ready to get them assessed. Sweet. The advisor's out there in a couple of days, and tick them off for them. 5% more done on their apprenticeship. Like you're giving them motivation rather than going, we're not going to see you for 3 months. Don't bother trying for 3 months. And then the week before we come back, yeah, go hard. Go hard, pick it all up again. And you didn't do anything with 2 months.
Because that's also demotivating with the bookwork, eh? If you're just like doing nothing for like 2 months, and then it's like cramming, nothing for 2 months, and cramming, versus like that more consistent, like I'm in my books, I'm doing the work, and it's not like overwhelming, but it's just more consistent.
So it's really weird. So we helped the Builders Academy early on with doing their videos and photos down in Manukau somewhere. We show up there and I'm talking to this guy and he's got G&H training written on his t-shirt. And I was like, oh, that's who I used when I was with the other training organization because I didn't want to do the night classes. I hated the idea of leaving work and going to do night classes. It absolutely horrified me. And so I found out that I could get this independent training organization involved. They were called G&H Training. And this old guy would come around and he would be the go-between and the extra support I needed to get the stuff done when it, like between the 3-month process.
Right.
And I could call him anytime to be like, I'm trying to figure this out. You know, page 240, paragraph blah, blah, blah. And we'd go through it. So I rock onto the Builders Academy photo shoot. This guy's standing there with a G&H training shirt. I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm from G&H Training. I'm like, yeah, but like that's the organization. I've never seen or heard of you guys since. I've always told my apprentices you need to call G&H Training and get them involved. They'll help you through, but no one's ever done it. And he goes, oh yeah, we've helped Builders Academy create their system and their literature and their, you know, what we've got involved in. I think they've, don't quote me on it, but I think they're all the same company now. I might be wrong. So that's what they use as a fundamentals for how to create the Builders Academy
Right.
program. It was a company that I used 20 years ago.
Crazy. So they kind of like were like the one that bridged the gap between like just the theory and like the reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now Builders Academy has kind of brought that in.
Yeah, because my training advisor back then was pushing me to do night classes. Oh, you have to do night classes. You need this extra support and this extra time. And I was just, there's no freaking way I'm wasting 2 of my nights a week in a class where they read out the answers. No, not happening. And then the guy I did my apprenticeship with, his company, he said, oh, a couple of our apprentices are using this guy. Give him a call. And that was G&H Training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you guys had to transition across, right, from the old company to Builders Academy.
Yeah.
What was that transition like? Was it quite clunky, or was it like a pain in the ass, or
It was like that. No drama.
what? They just, because they have different books and stuff. Why they just kind of go, yeah, you're up to this point, boom, start here.
I don't even think, there's only one building curriculum. So like, I don't even think there was much transition or issues with that at all. The training advisor, like, our one, he just sat down with them and made sure they got the things right. And it was just a really smooth transition. No one complained about anything or feeling like they were going backwards or nothing.
And why would why would other building business owners because it's the business owner that decides, right, really, on the trainer. Is that right? Or is it more the apprentice, or is it a bit of both?
The apprentice can choose, but it's on them in the end of the day. We just sign up as a committed trainer,
yeah,
and an employer. So they can choose who they want at the end of the day, but it's a 4-year program. Like, you need support over that time. It's not going to be smooth sailing for everyone. Like, 90% of people are going to struggle with it at some point. And you want better support. You want someone you can call on to go, can you come help me this week? I was just casually reading the literature and I got real stuck on this thing. Like, you don't want to have to put that aside with a post-it note for 3 or 5 weeks until your next meeting's due,
Yeah.
Like, they need to have a bit more.
And so with why would you then tell apprentices or building business owners to transition to Builders Academy? What would be the main reason?
Better reporting, better support for your apprentices. They'll learn better. I don't know if that's English. They'll learn better. They'll just do better. I think they'll find it easier to keep the passion and inspiration for building going. Some people it's not for, so they might figure out quicker if it's not for them or not and move along to some other industry. Maybe that's it. Just better support and better guidance and more communication and it's really clear getting their kind of progress reports every few months. You know exactly where they're at. You know what was talked about on site. You've got a full breakdown of info from their site meetings.
Yeah.
There's good communication about like, I'm going to be on this site at this day if you want to meet me there, you know, to see that apprentice so that you can be involved. They're not trying to like knock you out of the picture and just keep it between them and the apprentice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that everyone's on board.
Yeah, but regardless of that, you get these full reports and stuff that come through that you can have a good read of and
Yeah.
sit down and talk to the apprentice about it if you need to.
And do you think that, I'm just kind of thinking about the adult apprentices we were talking about before. Do you think because the market's shifting, there's a bit of like, there's a bit of movement, people are maybe struggling and maybe looking for different options, different job changes, things like that. Do you think there'll be a lot more adult apprentices sort of coming through these sort of periods where they kind of like maybe come from something else, so they're like, hey, I'm going to have to make sure I get qualified, or do you think it's gone up or down in terms of the adult apprentices coming through?
I haven't seen any influx or any more inquiries on that respect. But if there was someone thinking like, oh, it's about time I got qualified, like I'd still highly recommend like these guys, the Builders Academy, over anyone else. Because if you've been doing it a long time and you still haven't got signed off, you probably need a lot of help, you know?
Yeah.
Like motivation. It's not even usually the fact that these people don't know what they're doing. It's just motivation to do the paperwork, to do the bookwork, and get it all behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to kind of transition, so if there's a young guy that's 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, they're thinking of getting into building, let's give them like a little bit of a reality check and give them just an honest explanation of what they're going to expect to get into building, and what sort of attitude they're going to have to bring, and what advice do you have for young guys that are like, hey, I'm thinking of getting into building, I'm thinking of maybe go find a builder, maybe go through an apprenticeship, or maybe go check it out, I want to be a builder. What advice do you have for them?
Get ready for some hard work, but it's incredibly rewarding, you know? And I hear this from everyone in the trades, but it's so rewarding being able to stand back at the end of the day and go, look what I did with my hands today, you know? I did that. I built that, finished that, halfway through that, I'll finish that tomorrow. Like whatever it is, it's really rewarding. I'd say there's probably no other as rewarding job in the world, especially as a builder. For me personally, I feel like it's just that much better than all of the sub trades in the rewarding sector, because you're overseeing it all. You're seeing the whole thing come together, all the structure or the house to the completion. I feel like building is probably the most rewarding job in the world, because you feel like you're helping someone renovate, build, whatever. So there's that helping reward, but you're physically involved, which is actually just super good for you to be physical in your work, right? 8 hours a day. Like, what do you need to go to the gym for? You're moving for 8 or 9 hours, like you've been to the gym all day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you get to stand back and go, yeah, I effing did that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool. I remember back
but
in the day.
But it is hard work.
Yeah. That's good advice. I mean, I remember back in the day we were doing a lot of like CrossFit when I was younger. Trying to get back into it recently again. But all my mates that were like builders, plumbers, sparkies and that, like they'd turn up, they don't even have to like warm up or anything because they've been moving all day. They're like ready to go, and then I come from the office or whatever, and it takes me like 20 minutes to just stretch out the day, from sitting. So I do get that. And also like the aspect of, because I've always wondered, like, people think they get into the trades and they go, yeah, building, electrician, plumber, even like maybe a fridgie or whatever. And people kind of go, okay, cool, yeah, mate, electrician's way more lucrative and you're in and out, and plumbing or whatever. But with all those other trades, you don't really have that satisfaction of the builder of standing back at the end of the day and looking at what you've
Yeah.
built. And
And
I
like-
bet you
like-
guys stand there for a while and just kind of, oh, it looks good, you know?
I used to love doing that. I used to love it once everything was packed up for the day and in the car again. I used to love staying there for 5 or 10 minutes and having a chat with the guys and looking at what we'd done.
Yeah.
It was good.
I with my little boy, we got these magnetic tiles and we do these big ball runs. I build one of those and I stand and look at it for like 3 minutes and be like, well, look at that ball run, look at that ball go. I told my wife the other day, I was like, this must be what builders feel like when they're building a house. It's like, if I feel this level of satisfaction for my little ball run, imagine how the builders are feeling, you know? So I do definitely get it.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for coming on, man.
No
I really
worries.
appreciate it. It was actually a good chat. And just to kind of get your POV on the industry and apprentices. And I think, yeah, if people are thinking about getting into it, like, go for it. And before I let you go, should we do something about the phones? You know, like, are you going to be able to tell people to not have their phones on site, or people have to leave their phones in the van, or like what's the deal with the phones? And also, I talked to someone the other day, and they talked about how smokers like suck now compared to like 10 years ago because everyone's just sitting there on TikTok rather than having a chat while they're eating their tuna can, you know?
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
There's definitely more phone use than there ever was before. And we've had to like actually nut out to the guys, like, just nah, come on. Like, either stop doing it or just don't come back tomorrow. Like, what else can you say? It's not acceptable. People are on wages. It's written into their contract.
Yeah.
You know, it's mobile phone use, you know, acceptable allowances type thing. It's not like a free-for-all, and it can't be, and it should never be. I think it's a shame that people sit down on their phones without having a conversation at Smoko,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, I know, like there was, who's that director that did like Kill Bill and stuff? So yeah, so Quentin Tarantino, is that how you say it? He has like a no phone rule on any of his film sets. So you're not allowed no phones. And he even does this thing where like if you do and you're not allowed to sleep. And so if you get caught sleeping, I think he's got like this big penis like thing that he bought somewhere that he puts on people and takes photos of them and then puts it up on the wall of shame when they fall asleep on set. But also, apart from that, it's just a bit of fun, you know. I don't know if you could do that these days in any other job. But also part of that is like no phones because he wants people to like between takes and even when they're sitting there or whatever to like chat, hang out.
Not just that. I can imagine, especially in the acting realm, if you're trying to be a different character or person and you're constantly getting distracted back to your real life with your phone, like that seems real stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
But he also like
you're going to get in and out of character 10 times a day rather than just focusing.
I know, but it's the same with working, right? Like you're kind of going in and out. But also the camaraderie is different on set, but also on site. You know, building the relationships. If you're just sort of constantly sitting on TikTok, you're not going to build relationships with your workmates.
And it's really like it's probably a typical builder's thing, but it's really good to have like a good level of banter. You know,
100%.
like some days you're doing like a really crap job and it's like, it's just got to be done. Someone's got to do it. But like have a good amount of banter on site, give each other shit for a few hours and you'll get through it. Like, you know, like you kind of distract yourself with sarcasm and humor, but you can't do that if you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Or if you're focused on your phone, like you just, no. I love giving people shit.
Yeah, I think the building site's our last space on earth where people can still give each other shit, say inappropriate things, bust each other's balls. Like that's kind of like the last thing we have left. So please, builders, don't let us lose that. You guys are the last, you know, the last in the world that's able to do that. And I think it's so good for us. And especially as guys and sometimes girls as well, like it's certainly in my friendships, the people I care about the most and my mates I'm the closest to, I'll give the most shit. And the friends that are a bit more like peripheral, they won't get that much, you know? So the more I'm insulting you, the more I'm seeing you as a friend.
The more you're a safe space.
Exactly. You're safe around me if I'm insulting you. And it's kind of like, and I think
it's like how I live my life. I live my life on sarcasm.
Yeah.
Couldn't live without it.
A lot of people can relate to that. So yeah, Tony, thanks for coming on.
No worries.
I appreciate it. And my last question is always like, did you have fun?
Yeah. Never done this before. It's great.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.